want the people of America to be able to work less for the government and more for themselves.
It's a wonderful time to be alive.
Let us be shy no longer.
Mercury, radio, arts.
We'll be the king, we will be the king, we will be. We'll be the king, we will be the king, we will be.
Things going back in a very healthy direction.
We will be, we will be, we will be, we will be.
Entertainment, enlightenment.
We will.
This is the Glenn Beck Program.
Doc Thompson pinch hitting for Glenn Beck. I'm regularly heard in Detroit. I do afternoons on Talk Radio 1270. You can email me, doc@talkradio1270.com. doc@talkradio1270.com. You can join the show, 888-727-BECK. If you want to find out more about me and what I do, you want to hear any podcasts of the show, or even some clips of some of the produced stuff we've done today, you can look up docthompson.com. Doc Thompson, THOMPSON.com. It'll link you to a bunch of audio. Or you can like my Facebook page. It's Facebook/Doc Thompson Show. You'll see me standing with Glenn. You'll know you found the right page when you see the two of us together there. We did post the Obama phone ringtone bit up there, too, if you want to hear that. Again, Facebook/Doc Thompson Show. So TSA has a bunch of holiday travel tips out. And if you go to their website, I think it is a great illustration of the failures of government and how unions protect these bad employees. Now, over the years, you and I have been witness to all of the failures of TSA. In some cases, a 90% failure rate in detecting weapons that come through. Detecting contraband, a 90% failure rate in some cases. The TSA workers in Honolulu that simply were not screening the bags, but going ahead and shoving that little thing in that says they were screened. The people that have been stealing, yes, stealing right out of the bins. This is the failure of TSA, and these people are often protected, as so many are, by government and by unions, the two of them working together. So when I hear about TSA's holiday travel tips, and I go to the website, and I see nonsense. First of all, they've got a whole guy that's blogging and making with the yucks. A government agency paying somebody to make with the pithy little comments to try to make it seem more funny and friendly. I don't want my TSA funny and friendly. I want them efficient. I want them protecting people, stopping bombs from getting on planes. Instead of marketing yourself to me, instead of marketing yourself to Americans. That's really what they're in the business of doing now. You, of course, recognize that TSA security is not really secure. No, if they wanted to be secure, they would profile people. Instead, they want to present the illusion, the appearance of security so we feel better and feel safer. I'm a little worried to fly. Things could happen, but there's guys in blue shirts and badges, and they made me walk through some little device that spins around. They're checking for stuff. I feel safe. I feel much better. Thank you, TSA. That's what they want as opposed to being safe. I'm kind of the blue pill, red pill guy. Blue pill, red pill. Out of Matrix, right? Do you want to know what's really out there? Then take this pill. If you want to pretend that everything is fine, then take that pill. As much as I know it would suck, I want to know what's going on. I want to make the choices for myself. I don't want to live in that, progressive dream world where as long as I feel good, everything's okay. I went through TSA recently. I flew from Detroit to Newark and then Newark to Detroit. And at Newark Airport, as I go through TSA, they have these little signs up that say, almost 1/4 of TSA workers are former military members. Okay, what does that matter? And then at the bottom it says, continuing to serve America like they've served in the past. Okay, 1/4. So let's say 25%. That means that 75% are not military members. So how come I have to give them the extra special little hidey-ho and respect that I would normally give military members? You've got 3/4 of them living off of what 1/4 has actually done. But why did they put it up there? To market to us. These are hardworking people in there doing their job. Well, I would say walk through TSA, and you'll see the people not doing their job, standing around, making you go through this rigmarole that doesn't matter, a lot of them fat and out of shape, and quite frankly, stupid. If you've gone through, you know what I'm talking about. I'm not making fun of them. There are some good people out there. I'm calling them like it is. You recognize me over the years as somebody who's going to give it to you straight, and you know that's what's going on out there. So 75% are not members of the military.
Yes.
So I've got to give them the extra consideration that someone else fought and served for.
That's what they're marketing. I mean, that's the spin they're putting out there.
Yeah, that doesn't seem quite right. Let's take other groups. What percentage of your office is a former military member? In total, almost 10% of all Americans right now currently serve or have served. Yeah, it's double for the TSA, a little more than double. That's pretty respective.
Yeah.
When you look at all Congresses, all members of Congress right now, almost 25% served in the military.
So actually less than the TSA.
Yeah, well, but very close, though.
Yeah, about comparable.
Yeah, comparable to it, enough that you go, Congress has a less than 10% approval rating, and 25% of their members have served.
I wonder what the TSA approval rating is.
Probably higher than Congress, sadly. I mean, okay, of all presidents, 62% served in the military. Jimmy Carter served in the military. For Pete's sake, really? Come on. Not just because of course I support the military. I respect them implicitly because I was too big of a puss to serve. So I give them the respect. But don't try to make me respect somebody else living off of what somebody else has done. By the way, current president and his cabinet. Current president and his cabinet. People who have served in the military? Of the president and all of his cabinet and advisors.
That's got to be around, what 20% or so?
Less than 6.
Wow.
Less than 6%.
Are you serious?
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, 62 roughly percent of all presidents have served in the military.
Well, and this president, his cabinet is one of the largest cabinets this country's ever seen.
Less than 6%.
Wow.
Have served in the military. So I point this that when I see the nonsense put out on the website, I go, you know what? You and I are paying for this garbage. We pay for it a couple ways, with our personal freedoms and also with our cold, hard cash. We pay for this stuff. And again, it's supported because the same ideology of the people striking at Walmart today, that somehow somebody deserves something for which they did not work, that somebody else has too much. That's what ultimately supports all of this nonsense. Yeah, the new policy is if you're traveling with cakes or pies, you can now take them on the plane, but they may need additional screening. And based on Chubby that checked me in at Newark, I know why it deserves the extra screening. Oh, okay, this one's fine. Go ahead and pass. Can't wait for the extra screening. Look at that pumpkin. I have some additional holiday travel tips courtesy of TSA. TSA put theirs out, and I have some TSA holiday travel tips for you, and here's one.
Here's another helpful holiday travel tip. Brought to you by your friends at the Transportation Safety Administration. Live turkeys may not be transported to Grandma's house for holidays unless they have proper picture identification. Such ID, however, will bar them from voting in all blue states under their real name. This has been another helpful holiday travel tip from Doc Thompson and the Glenn Beck Radio Show.
That's a good tip. That's nice to know. That's nice to know.
That's great. Yeah, they got to have ID.
I'm here for you with the tips. What do you want another one right now? All right, I'm going to here is another helpful
holiday travel tip. Brought to you by your friends at the Transportation Safety Administration. No food item cooked by your grandmother may be transported into New York City airspace unless first checked for fat and sodium content by the mayor's office. This has been another helpful holiday travel tip from Doc Thompson and the Glenn Beck Radio Show.
That seems more of a New York travel tip there, Mayor Bloomberg travel tip. I'm not sure that's how much TSA. All right, I'm going to get a break, and we'll come back with some of your calls, 888-727-BECK. A little bit later in the program, I have for you the way forward. The idea, how one of the first steps we can take with fixing our economic mess, and how we put the pressure on Congress to deal with each other as the fiscal cliff looms. I have the way. Wait, you want to get? All right, they're calling for another helpful holiday travel tip before I... This is another
helpful
TSA.
Holiday travel tip. Brought to you by your friends at the Transportation Safety Administration. Small amounts of leftover turkey is acceptable in your carry-on luggage. Gravy is not, unless it's under 3 ounces and in a container approved by Grandma. This has been another helpful holiday travel tip from Doc Thompson and the Glenn Beck Radio Show.
Your call's coming up, 888-727-BECK. It's Doc Thompson on the Glenn Beck program.
This is Glenn Beck.
Mercury.
Here's another helpful holiday travel tip. Brought to you by your friends at the Transportation Safety Administration. Please note, transporting turkey leftovers may require you to step into the scanner so agents may fully see your giblets.
Come on now.
This has been another helpful holiday travel tip from Doc Thompson and the Glenn Beck Radio Show.
You know, when I have talked with the writers on this, that's pushing it. The writers really have got to do it.
Writers? You wrote that, Doc.
You know,
you don't have any writers.
Let's not call out people here on Blind. Let's not point to who's at fault here. I don't want to call.
You pointed at the writers.
Let's just move on. Let's just move on and beyond this.
Writers.
Can't we all just get along? It's the holiday season after all.
I'm not going to let you get away with that.
We've been talking about the TSA just failing once again with these silly helpful holiday tips and randomly just changing what you can do. It's a holiday. It's like when initially they said right after 9/11 that you can't take tweezers, you can't take nail clippers. And then all of a sudden, those things were okay again, randomly. Nothing changed. They didn't implement some additional tweezer and nail clipper security measure. They didn't do that. They just went, yeah, okay, you can take them. Again, it is the perception of safety and security as opposed to actually being safe and secure. And you know what? There's a lot of people that want that. There's a lot of people that like that perception. They want to feel safe as opposed to being safe. Maybe it's just that I'm skeptical and cynical, that I see the world differently, and I actually want to know if something is safe or secure. Give me the percentages. How secure is something? Not just imagery. Let me give you an example in my personal life. When I moved to Detroit, I moved into an apartment complex that has one of those little guard shacks. Moved into a little apartment complex, and as you pull in, there are 2 divided lanes to pull in, with like a little strip, a little median between the 2 of them. And on the other side, to the left of the guard shack, is the exit that is wide enough for 2 cars, but it's not divided. The gates are never down. There are gates, but they're always up. I lived there for months and months and months, and finally I come home, and on my door is a yellow fluorescent flyer. I've got it right here. Another pink or orange fluorescent flyer stapled to it. It says gate system repair. Now keep in mind, when I looked at the place, when I had lived there, I think probably 4 or 5 months, nothing had ever been said about the gate. But gate system repair. On the orange piece, it says building number whatever, apartment number whatever, and it's handwritten in the little space. And then it says your gate entry code is, and there's a space, and they wrote it in. Now, I recognize right off it's the last 4 digits of my phone number. And as I look around the apartment complex, I see on everybody's door yellow and orange flyers. So I could just, or anybody else could just go up and tear it off the door and see what their code is. Anybody could just go and do that.
Well, that doesn't sound very secure.
It doesn't sound very secure that you're just putting that stuff out there like that. So right off, I'm thinking, okay, they're giving the perception of security as actually being secure. But I'm going to let you be the judge as I share with you what my apartment complex wrote. It says, Dear residents. They had to put the S in there, too, in parentheses. The gate system has been a concern for all of the residents. They're speaking for me. It wasn't a concern. I am very happy to announce that they have been repaired and we will be starting to use them. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Fine. Along with the repair, management has decided to update the security system. Anyone found tampering with the gates will be fined $250, and the local police department will be contacted. let me point out. They put fined first and then call the police department. So that means the fine is coming from them, the apartment complex?
Sounds like that.
How are they going to fine somebody if they don't know who they are and they don't live there? So all they're saying is they're going to fine somebody that lives there if they get caught.
Well, and they put the fine first. That makes me think they're more interested in collecting a little bit of cash on it than actual security and finding you getting caught and calling the police.
The flyer then says, I would like to stress the important that all residents are operating the gates correctly. Everyone will be given a gate code, which, as I mentioned, I have. And I also have everybody else's gate code because it was on their door. It says, please see the attached flyer for your apartment code. It's the last 4 digits of your cell phone number. Oh, I thought it was a coincidence. If your number has been changed or you do not remember your code, please feel free to contact the office. Thank you for cooperation. Then at the bottom, it says, here are a few helpful codes to ensure that the gates are not damaged. The food delivery code.
Okay, come on now.
So I have my code, but there's a separate code for food deliveries. You don't want them to get your code, do you?
Well, why not? You just give them your code. That makes more sense.
The food delivery code is 5577. But you don't want to give that out if you have a guest over. Because a food delivery is not a guest, and you don't want to give your guest your code. You want to give them the guest code.
Oh, come on
which is 8966. So you have your code, and you have the food delivery code, and then you have a guest code, which sounds a little silly to me until I realized there's also a resident code.
I thought your resident code was the last 4 of your
No, that's your code. The resident code is 1116, according to them. They say use that code if your code doesn't work. That's what it says here.
But you can't use the pizza delivery code if your code doesn't work.
You're not delivering pizzas.
Oh, you're right.
If you're a resident, so use the resident code.
Okay.
So you have your code, you have a food delivery code, a resident code, and a guest code. Then they have the taxi code. 2652 if you call for a taxi, because you don't want to give the taxi, the food delivery code. That's just nutty.
Well, in a sense, a taxi could be delivering you. They could use the, I guess, in a pinch, you can use the delivery code if you're a taxi driver.
But here's the biggest nonsense of all. All day long, the gates are open on the entry. And most of the night, at least one of the 2 entry gates are open. Doesn't sound very secure. But the best part of all, there is no gate on the exit, which is simply driving to the left of the little guard shack as opposed to the right. Because God knows criminals would never go through the exit.
No.
They're willing to break into your house, hit you in the head with a lead pipe, steal everything you have, but they're not willing to break the law because it says exit.
You can't go in the exit. That's crazy talk.
That's a violation.
That's
criminals
crazy talk.
They would never do such a thing.
No.
I gotta be honest. I have never used my code. I just go in through the exit.
What?
Why would I slow down and wait for that nonsense?
Well, and of course you have to really hope that these pizza delivery guys aren't criminals too, because they got your code. They got the pizza code.
They would never be criminals.
You can break in with the pizza code. You don't have to show that you have a pizza, do you?
I'm just wondering if there's a paperboy code, an emergency code, your Aunt Esther code, anything like that. You don't want to give them the other codes. This is a perfect example of the perception of security. Oh, it's safe because we have to enter a code, as opposed to those of us with common sense going, it just wastes my time for no reason, which is also the TSA. That's what we're talking about. 888-727-BECK. I'm going to share with you a story. I'm going to tell you who I had dinner with, at least some of them, coming up next, and an idea that this little dinner spurred. It's an amazing idea on how we go forward economically and how we get Congress to do our bidding. I'll share it with you next on the Glenn Beck radio program.
Glenn Beck.
Mercury.
Agenda 21 by Glenn Beck. Today and tomorrow only, it's 50% off at Target.com and most Target locations. Get details on the book at glennbeck.com/agenda21.
Here's another helpful holiday travel tip. Brought to you by your friends at the Transportation Safety Administration. According to the 2012 TSA Handbook, Fruitcake can be considered a deadly weapon. Also, the term fruitcake is considered demeaning and hurtful, especially to those in California who are indeed fruitcakes.
Fruitcakes. Okay, I see.
This has been another helpful holiday travel tip from Doc Thompson and the Glenn Beck Radio Show.
Hi there, it is Doc Thompson pinch hitting. Today, if you get a chance, check out my Facebook page and like it. I'm trying to build that up. Just do Facebook/Doc Thompson Show. Or if you go to DocThompson.com, you get all kinds of stuff there, that little podcast of things we've done in the past, and even some stuff we've done on the air today. I want to tell you what I think is the way forward. And it's not my idea. It comes from an idea of a very smart man and some other very smart people. So recently, I was having dinner with this group of people, and one person in particular threw out an idea, and everybody debated the idea, and I really think there is something special here. The guy I'm talking about is Steve Forbes, the media mogul. He has a book out. We had dinner about a week or so ago, and during this dinner,
wait, hold on. You had dinner with Steve Forbes?
I had dinner with Steve Forbes.
By had dinner, you mean you served him dinner, right?
No, we had dinner. What do you mean?
You saw him walking into a steakhouse or something?
No, we ate at the same table.
Dinner with Steve Forbes.
I did have dinner with Steve Forbes. Yes,
sort of a panel with him. Were you the before picture?
No.
But would you park his car?
This is not about me. Yes, we were on a panel.
You both had dinner the same day?
No. Here it is, guys. I was part of this discussion group where I was invited to speak with a lot of I'm not going to go into the other people. I'll mention Steve because he had sent me a copy of an article he wrote based on our discussion there. And no, I don't know. You know why I was there? Because I have my finger on the pulse of what's going on with the American people. I am on the cutting edge of...
What are you talking about? You don't even have a job in 6 months. You're not on the pulse of anything. 6 weeks, yeah.
Yes, but they don't need to know that. I fooled him once again.
All right.
I weaseled my way in.
I'll edit this out in post-production. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't tell him. Don't air that. Jeez. No, so I'm there speaking, me and 6-7 other people, and we had a great discussion. And Steve Forbes spoke, the publisher of Forbes magazine. Forbes magazine's a great magazine. You've probably read things he's written in the past. Well, in our casual discussion, he mentioned the fiscal cliff and an idea he had. And during dinner, it was about 20 or so people, everybody just, talking different issues and ideas. He said he thinks the way forward is for Congress, is for anybody on the right, anybody that doesn't want the huge tax increases, even for rich people, because we recognize taxes are too high to begin with. And we actually agree to taxing the rich. We agree to it. Steve actually wrote a little article after this meeting, sent me a link. I have that up on my Facebook page as well. You can find it there. And I want to share just a part of it with you. He said, when talking to the fiscal cliff, Obama Democrats argue that the president only wants to restore the tax rates that were under the Clinton presidency. That they don't want to do anything crazy. It's just, let's go back to the tax rates under Clinton when, everything was really good. We had a great economy. And Steve Forbes argues that we should say, absolutely, let's do it. Let's get that done. But in order to achieve a Clinton economy, Steve writes, you also must enact the other Clinton policies critical to the prosperity of those years. And they include, number one, a freer economy. Fine, you want to go ahead and raise those taxes on the rich because things were wonderful under Clinton. I mean, economically speaking, we boomed. You can't just pick and choose. You've got to do it all, right? It wasn't just that higher tax rate that made everything wonderful. It likely was a combination. So those things that we should demand is a freer economy. Steve Forbes writes, the oppressive Obamacare of that time was Hillary Care, which was never enacted. So if we want to reenact the Clinton economy, then we have to repeal Obamacare. He then says the federal regulation regime was also much easier than it is now. Will the White House become serious about genuine deregulation? Doesn't that make sense? Second, Steve says, we have to go to a Clinton-area federal spending level. Yes, you can't just say we want higher taxes. You have to go back to the spending levels, which were much less. He said federal spending as a proportion of the economy, much smaller. Steve wrote, that would mean budget cuts now of around $500 billion, not spread over 10 years, $500 billion now, budget cuts. And finally, he said a stronger and stable dollar. He said the dollar in those days was almost as good as gold. He said that was a critical factor in that time's economic boom. So will the White House axe Ben Bernanke? Will they get rid of him? Will they get rid of his destructive monetary policies, the quantitative easing and such? Doesn't that make sense? How do you argue you have to go back to Clinton era tax rates to make everything wonderful? Their argument essentially is that is what made the economy boom. And there's a heck of a lot more to it than that. Steve laid out a bunch. And again, read that little article at my Facebook page, Doc Thompson, or Facebook/Doc Thompson Show. The biggest reduction in government spending relative to GDP since the end of World War II happened between 1992 and 2000. Some of that you can actually give credit to Bill Clinton for. Some of that you can give credit to the Republicans in the House and the Senate at the time. You also had welfare reform as demanded by the Republicans. What about those issues? We had lower military spending at the end of the Cold War. So we didn't put as much out. But what did that lead to? It led to our serious lapse in intelligence, which led to us having our guard down in 9/11 and all the craziness since. After that, then we went crazy and poured money into places, again, giving the perception of security and safety as opposed to actually being safe. We had lower interest payments during the Clinton era because we spent less. We had lower interest payments because the deficit and the national debt were much lower. Taxation of regular income rose for the top earners. They are right. That actually went up. But capital gains tax actually was reduced. And you may recall when Obama was running for president, Charlie Gibson interviewed, and this is one of the most powerful pieces of audio to let you understand what President Obama really believes and is about. That when Charlie Gibson laid out lowering capital gains taxes under Clinton and under Reagan, that the Treasury took in more money. And Obama said he still was not for lowering capital gains because it's an issue of fairness. He is willing for the federal government to take in less money for us to be worse off just to stick it to wealthy people. Again, the idea that it's not fair if some make more money, even though it's better for all of us. And of course, you have the tech stock bubble. How would you recreate brand new technology, a revolution? How would you go ahead and reproduce that? You can't. Those things happen. They come and go. Maybe, possibly, if you got out of people's way, less government, less regulation, maybe you would see some of that stuff, a new technology boom. Maybe we could be talking about that. But there's a lot more in it than just saying, let's raise those tax rates because things were so wonderful under Clinton. Yeah, there was some really solid economics under Clinton. How do you pick just raising taxes on the rich instead of saying, let's recreate all of it? Makes a powerful argument. Steve Forbes, a very bright man. Check out that article again on my Facebook page. It's just facebook.com/DocThompsonShow.com. Is it the .com/DocThompsonShow? That's how it is. All right. And while you're there, please like the page as well. We have to get spending under control. I think you recognize that. I bring this stuff up all the time. Why is it that Congress actually went on vacation? You hear the members of Congress and the media talking about the fiscal cliff, how big it is, how awful, how destructive. They're using it to stick to the other side, saying, look at these people. They just want to destroy the economy. Something has to be done. Even though they're the ones who created the fiscal cliff by kicking the can down the road and actually not doing their job. They did not do their job because they didn't balance the budget. No, they can argue all they want that the other side, they don't agree with how to balance it. That's not the point. We send them to D.C. to do the difficult work, and they didn't do it. So they create this fiscal cliff. Then they go on vacation. Well, they got to go home for the holidays, right? You got to eat holiday at home. There's a problem with that, though, People at Walmart are working on the holiday. People at Target did. Firefighters and cops were working. People ran football games for entertainment. All of these things happening, but Congress still warning us that the other side is not going to help them stop this fiscal cliff, which could destroy us in the short term, went ahead and went home on break. Does that sound like people who are really in it for me and you? People who are really willing to do the hard work and get it done? Steve Forbes has the idea. I have the idea. You have the ideas. Congress, they're just sucking up the cash. They're just lining their own pockets and their own future. Get to some of your calls. I'll share with you another example of waste right after the break. It's Doc Thompson on the Glenn Beck program.
You're listening to Glenn Beck. You can also watch the show online at theblaze.com/TV or on Dish Network Channel 212.
Mercury.
Here's another helpful holiday travel tip. Brought to you by your friends at the Transportation Safety Administration. During the holidays, the TSA must recruit new $8 an hour workers. So please, overlook any of our highly trained personnel if they ask you if you'd like fries with that. This has been another helpful holiday travel tip from Doc Thompson and the Glenn Beck Radio Show.
If you're looking for holiday gift ideas, Glenn's new book, Agenda 21, they got a Target special, 50% today. 50% on this book. Agenda 21, I'm very excited to read it. I'm a huge gambler. I love blackjack. So anything I can do that actually sets
Doc, it's not 21. It's on Agenda 21. The UN, the property rights. It's not about gambling.
I really, really should have read the back of this.
Do you read any of the emails I send you?
Still, I mean, Agenda 21 sounds fascinating too. That's very good. But 50% off today at Target. So you're going to want to check that out. I have another gift idea for you before I go, and this comes to us courtesy of an anti-Romney gathering that was put on by SEIU just prior to the election.
It's the ringtone that everyone wants.
Everybody in Cleveland get Obama phone.
And lets everyone around you know exactly where you stand. Presenting the Obama phone ringtone.
Obama phone.
The Obama phone ringtone is free.
You on food stamps, you on Social Security, you got low income, you disability.
Like everything should be if you be disenfranchised, whatever that means.
You know?
Your bail bondsman is calling.
Obama phone.
Your mama's calling. Your ex-husband is calling.
He sucks.
Because the right to a free cell phone ringtone is guaranteed in the Constitution.
You know?
Or it will be soon, depending on who wins Ohio.
Keep Obama in president.
The Obama phone ringtone.
Obama phone.
Free to Obama phone holders. The one ringtone that screams entitlement.
Obama phone.
New from the free App Store.
Obama phone.
EBT card sold separately.
I'm Barack Obama.
Obama phone.
And I approve this message.
So there you go. There's another an SEIU holiday gift idea for you. I mean, that was from before the election, but I mean, why not go out and get that free Obama phone? And if somebody gets you one, you might want to remember they didn't pay for it.
It's kind of like the Doc Thompson gift giving guide.
Yeah, that's all we're doing here is just giving you some suggestions. If you want to hear that again, just go to my Facebook page, Doc Thompson, Facebook.com/Doc Thompson Show. Make sure to like my page while you're there, or DocThompson.com. It'll be up there, linked to it as well. Let me give you one more example before we part ways today of outrageous government spending. I come up with these stories on a daily basis, and I add up the numbers, and I am now into the hundreds of billions of dollars that we could cut. And it doesn't come down to cutting anything like, food for starving children. We could certainly look at some of those failures. But these are things that I think are really obvious to everybody, or should be, things that we could certainly end up cutting. According to tradition, government agencies, and this is not just under Obama, this has been going on for forever, but it's a tradition that maybe we should look at. They commission artists to do portraits of all of the heads of government agencies, the Secretary of Treasury, so on and so forth, and even some other people that work for them. Portraits. There is an Environmental Protection Agency spent $40,000 on a portrait of Administrator Lisa Jackson. $40,000. $40,000. The Air Force Secretary Michael Donnelly spent $41,000 on his portrait. The Department of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, only $22,500.
This is insane.
Wouldn't you at least look at the Department of Agriculture and say, well, they got it for $22,500?
Why would they spend that much money on it?
Well, you need official portraits of people.
Well, clearly they haven't heard about that new technology, photography. It's only been around for about 200 years.
Would that be a little cheaper?
Photography.
Than $40,000 for a painting? A little cheaper?
It's sweeping the nation, I hear.
Well, what would a what would that cost somebody?
$1, maybe. Let's see. I don't know.
Is that the stuff where you take a picture and then you get it produced down at Walgreens or something?
Yes.
Wow, that seems a little bit cheaper. That seems like maybe that's the better way to go. Have yourself a good Black Friday. It's Doc Thompson in for Glenn Beck. Good night, Steve Cannon. Wherever you are. On Young. Now, you go home. Agenda 21. Who knew?
Glenn Beck.
Mercury.